All right, my friends. Welcome in, everybody. Little hype reel to get you sizzled up, to get you hyped. Little scissor reel to get you hyped. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. How's everybody doing though today? Good to see you all. Today we are continuing our review of CitizenCon. This is my last stream in Turkey for a while. Me and Mrs. Tomato will be heading out tomorrow. In fact, if you're watching this deep dive, within like the first, I don't know, 6 hours of it being posted, we're probably in a plane somewhere. So enjoy. But welcome in, everyone. Today we're talking about the first 5 star systems in Star Citizen. So basically the next 4. We all know Stanton. We don't really need to focus on that too much. And we will be touching on the differences that they have with what we know of Stanton right now, why they're actually going to be more than just Stanton in different colors, and which one's my favorite. I think most of you already probably know that. It was on my bingo card and everything, but it's good fun to still talk about it anyways. So, without further ado, actually no, with more further ado, I'm going to say hello to everybody first, and then we'll get into this, because this is going to actually be a shorter stream. With the flight going on, we're leaving in like 12 hours, in fact. So I've basically got to get this stream done and then dismantle this bad boy because most of what's inside of here, not the base, because this case is massive. Most of what's inside of there is coming with us back to the States. So I will be taking that apart right after this stream, and we will be this will be a shorter stream. Anyways, hi everybody. Welcome in, Toes Gang. Good to see you all. Hope you're having a lovely week yourself. Hope everything's going well for you. Yes, we are in Turkey. Mrs. Tomato is Turkish. She's from here. So we, spend some time here. And we spend time in America. We generally, so this is our home. Like, this is what we consider our place. It is a part of the family apartment here. And we've, obviously built this studio to be our sort of permanent kind of setup. We're going back to the States to stay with my parents for a bit, but we will be going back a bit longer than we wanted to or expected. We're going to be there until the summer and then coming right back over here. Because summertime over here is wonderful. It's like amazing here. So yeah, that's the short of it. But welcome in, everybody. Space Guy, Tiberius, AAK, Jaybird, Forgotten One, Vastin, Matt, Johnny, Arthane, Luna Maria, Valis. Welcome in, my friends. Good to see you today. Feathers, thank you for the membership on YouTube. Give Pedro all the monies. Dude, Pedro does work, man. The music is so good. I can't wait until we get the OST released, separate from the game. I love the game. The game's great, but the freaking soundtrack, I could listen to that thing on loop all day, every day. In fact, I used to listen to this channel called, can't remember what it was called, but they would cut up all the Around the Verse episodes and show just the good parts to the music of Star Citizen. Actually, it was to the music of Stellar Drone. That's how I discovered Stellar Drone. It was Around the Verse dopamine edits. Any of you who were watching Around the Verse back in 2017, 2018, you probably, maybe, you watched those too. Tiny Home, good to see you, man. How you doing? Welcome in. Stream Train, hello. Don't know if it's engine, probably, but it's essentially just layout phase. That video, I mean, yeah, pre-production, who knows what that means, man. It could be all modeling. It could be modeling inside their engine. It could be modeling in other things. It's too hard to know. Base Toes. Welcome in, Adnan. Good to see you. Taldarock, thanks for coming. We know it's Nyx. Well, I mean, yeah. I think it said Nyx in the beginning of that. Enjoy Discord when you're back in the US. Haha, that's our trick. We are such phenomenal cyber hacker people that we've been using Discord the whole time. Now they could totally clip that and use it to arrest me or something. Hot soap. Welcome in, buddy. I feel like hot soap might not be the most efficient. Just turns it into shower gel, kind of. Hey, Bob. How you doing? Carbide, good to see you. Morker. Schlumpf. Going to miss the EU time streams. We don't change our stream time. We stream at 9 a.m. over there, which I believe is just 1 hour later than we do here. I think. And then even when, so let's see. We stream at 9 a.m. over there, which I think PST, what time is it right now? It's probably 8:10. And then, oh, it's 7:10. Okay, so it'd be 2 hours later, but then daylight savings time kicks in a bit, so then it's PDT, and PDT is 8:10. So yeah, we would only be streaming an hour later than we normally do once daylight savings time kicks in. Hey Travis, good to see you. Chala, 5 systems to start with, more systems coming in patches that follow, indeed. John Brasir, welcome. Welcome, Macaroni. It's 8 a.m. right now? Did you guys already switch? Is it already daylight savings time? Holy crap, did I miss that? I thought that happened around Thanksgiving time. Who cares about systems? They need to stabilize servers. David, can I ask you a real question? Let me ask you a real question in response to that. Would you prefer if every time I went live we just talked about servers? Or could we not talk about other parts of the game as well? I don't know. I get tired of talking about server meshing. It gets old after the first 5 times we go over it. Daylight savings time is this night? What? When does it happen? When is daylight savings time? Daylight savings time 2024 is ending. When do we fall back? November 3rd. Okay, so in America it's November 3rd. In Europe it's this weekend. I see. So we're going back to standard time. That's what's going on. Okay, so we will be 2 hours later then, once we, starting, I guess, in a week. So, sorry about that, but hey, you know what? It's not that much different. It's not like 12 hours difference, right? Hey, what's up, Berk? Merhaba. Hoş geldiniz. Welcome in. Who cares about finishing the game when you could polish half a game? Who cares about feathers when you could talk about beaks, buddy? Thaddeus, good to see you. Welcome in. Time is weird. It's also very confusing because we don't do daylight savings time in Turkiye, so like it gets so, it's nice actually that we're leaving right around that same time, so it's easy for us to adapt. Things are moving much faster now. They've built a lot of the back end stuff. Man, from what people are saying, whispers and murmurs, of course, it does sound like getting, what happened to my music? It does sound like getting features into the game with server meshing now figured out to an extent, now functional in a way, is allowing them to like actually think about the game itself, like different things like large server services like the org stuff and the friend stuff and all that, like what to do in cities when there's more people there, like the whole Starkitect things with points of interest. All these things are like, they kind of wanted to make sure server meshing was actually working before they did that stuff. So I'm not saying the floodgates are opening. Let's not get hyperbolic with it, but it does sound like they have passed a stage at which they can start to think about the game in different ways as they develop it, which kind of happened with persistent entity streaming. So it's nice to see that happening to some extent with server meshing, and hopefully they talk about it a bit more next year. What foundation is left? Dynamic server meshing, we are done. I mean, with the big beats, yeah. They're optimizing the engine, obviously. We saw a lot of that actually during CitizenCon with, talks about the scattering and moving things from CPU to GPU, allowing for parallel CPU usage and multi-threading. A lot of optimization is still going to probably be done, but as far as like the big pillars of the back end, from 64-bit to bind culling to object container streaming to server meshing, it's like, yeah, they've got a lot of stuff behind them now. More behind than in front. They're butt heavy, if you will. How functional is server meshing now? You haven't been up to date much on it? I mean, they've been testing it. It's still in Evocati though, so not functional enough for us to play, but functional enough for someone to try out. It's the f***ing streamers. Sorry. It's just all I see about Evocati now is just that, like, oh, the streamers. Toes. I personally haven't tried it myself, but it is an Evocati, and they're allowing it to be like made videos of and streamed to some extent. Can't wait for Volwoken implementation. I'm guessing that's coming with 4.0. They haven't really talked too much about it though, huh? Also, like 3 systems we'll get from Squadron 42. Yeah, we'll have to see how much extra work that might take. So, what do you guys say? Do we look at the next 4 star systems? Starting with our favorite, Mr. Nix. Mr. Nix, sir? Are you going to let us fly our spaceships inside of you? Let's get started. Like I said, a little bit of a shorter stream. We're going to bust right through this stuff, and then I will see you all back in a mile car. But before we go, I'll have Mrs. Tomato come in here so we can say a good goodbye. Let's start.
Hello everyone, wonderful to see you all. Thank you for coming out. Did you guys see that worm? Really cool. All right.
You see that worm?
So right now, it's all hands on deck to make 4.0 the best experience for you. Richer locations, deeper gameplay, better experiences.
Show us the slides.
All with completely new...
I love my man Ian, but what's he showing us?
Pedro, which will create an evocative and emotional backdrop.
Yeah, Pedro.
Rich and I have been working directly with Pedro for many months now. Beautiful music awaits. But today, I'm going to talk to you about what's beyond Pyro. So let's strap in and we'll take a look. My name's Ian. I'm the creative director for Star Citizen. And let's start by looking up into the stars.
Into
and
the
saying
stars.
Hello to an old friend.
I'd like to address something dropped in chat real quick. Rhetoric, you said exploration is neutered right now. I gotta ask, what's your idea of exploration? Because it really comes down to like what you think of it. Now, from years and years now, they've kind of said that exploration is mainly focused on finding resources, points of interest, and things that would benefit other people. You can do that with 5 systems, no problem. Like, they just theorized 3,000 points of interest on a single planet. And with these first 5 star systems, we'll have 4, 10, 13, 16 planets and like 20 something moons. I can't even math that hard. I think that's like 48,000 possible points of interest. Like, I don't think just limiting it to 5 systems is going to hurt exploration potential when the point of exploration is to find resources and find, points of interest, big nebulas, massive asteroid clouds or asteroid belts, stuff like that. You consider it finding wormholes in unexplored systems. Oh, well, that was never gonna be. I mean, what unexplored systems exist in Star Citizen? Like, since the beginning, every single system is already charted in the star map. So there's no such thing as unexplored systems in Star Citizen. Wormholes are a thing because you can have, they already went over, what's it called? Transient jump points are a thing. So you'll have jump points that are spawning in different places around star systems. But what you're saying isn't what they've said exploration would be. So 5 star systems doesn't necessarily neuter an experience that never existed. That being said, I think that the transient jump points gives people the opportunity to find back alleys into systems, especially when smuggling becomes a thing. But yeah, it's not just looking a hole in the ground. Like the half of Nyx is engulfed in a nebula, and if you haven't looked at their demos for Squadron 42, the types of things that they're looking to hide inside of nebulas are pretty cool. Either way, though, we continue. They said that there's 50 undiscovered systems. I see. Well, I didn't know that. I hadn't heard about that, at least. The idea of different sized wormholes has changed, but the transient jump points that you can discover through exploration will have size limits. It was Nyx, but that's like a very small part of Nyx. It's kind of just like a reintroduction to Levski.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a link to this 50 undiscovered systems too, because that would mean that they planned 150 systems, which I've never heard that number either. Keep in mind though, people explore Earth all the time. Earth is pretty old. It's possible to find interesting things. Like this is kind of like the whole argument about, oh, there's never going to be anything to do in this game because there's no missions. It's not like they're not going to build this stuff. It's their job to make interesting gameplay for people. Exploration's gonna be a thing. True. We haven't charted all of Earth. Like there's the amount of space in a star. Never mind. There's no point in talking about it. Let's get to the planets.
So this is Nyx system. Nyx was discovered in 2582 by Carl Larry during the height of the newly formed United Empire of Earth's territorial expansion. Its most defining feature, and the source of its name, is the sprawling black dust cloud that occupies most of the system. The dust cloud severely hampers visibility and can interfere with your ship's scanners.
There's your exploration potential.
This system does, however, border with Vandal space. So, visitors are being advised there are Vandal raiding parties hitting locations throughout the system.
Now, I think this is new, right? I mean, it's not like it's not new in the sense that it is suddenly bordering Vandal space, but I don't think they talked about the idea that Vandal would actually be in the Nyx system ever. If I'm not mistaken. That seems like a bit of a addition to Nyx going forward. Because they never really talked about aliens in the perspective of Star Citizen in general, just sort of with Squadron. So Nyx system, let's see, we're right here in the Stanton system. Sorry, my hope's getting ahead of me. We're here in the Stanton system, and we go to the Pyro system from there, and that connects over to the Nyx system, boop, boop, which connects to Virgil, which is the Vandal space. So, Jesus, that is like, man, that's a huge jump. But if you like click on Nyx and you look at the information that they've got about it, says the Nyx system was left unclaimed by the UEE after deciding its 3 planets were not terraforming candidates, and in attempts to mine the dense glacium ring were deemed too dangerous. In 2618, a group of political activists and refugees fleeing the Mesa region regime moved into a vacated mining facility located in Delamar, a moon-sized asteroid deep within the system's asteroid belt. And I feel like they would have said something about the Vandal there if like that was a big thing originally. So this might be a little bit of an addition to the lore of the system to make it a little more interesting for the game. But also that whole, hey, there's a big gas cloud that obscures most of this system. That's exploration right there. We haven't really gotten into how scanning is going to work, but one of the big things that's going to bolster exploration gameplay in this game is the quantum boost. That is the ability to quantum travel in any direction. Doesn't matter if there's a quantum beacon or not. It is mainly so that you can jump in whatever direction you want if you are able to long distance scan something that's found in that direction. Now, this is a star system that is how big? How big we got here? 11 AU. So a little smaller than Pyro, but still, what, twice the size of Stanton? Now, currently, you can't scan very far in Stanton, but if there's something going on between, say, Hurston and Magda, you wouldn't know, right? You quantum jump from Hurston to Magda, and you'd miss everything in between it. So the distances that you would then see if those distances were multiplied by 50, there's a lot of things in there that you can miss if you're not specifically looking for it. This is where it comes into the reality of the game, that you would be able to stop midway through the star system, where you'd be able to jump randomly out 50,000, 100, 200, a million kilometers out into some random direction and start scanning this way, that way, this way, that way in a nebula cloud, looking for abandoned space stations, looking for derelict ships, looking for gas deposits that you could refine or asteroids that you could mine on. That's where exploration starts to come in. And I do think that Nyx is going to be a big part of that introduction of the game. Pyro is kind of like their introduction of, hey, this is where, you know, lawlessness takes hold. You're kind of learning how reputation works. You're learning how dangerous space works, how a lack of law works. Nyx is sort of the same, but more safe. And I think Nyx is going to be, when it launches, a big thing of, hey, this is how exploration is kind of working. Here's how long distance scanning is working. Here's how getting lost in the void and figuring yourself out works. Less space stations, less factions, less people even than Pyro, it sounds like, and more space. Now, yeah, so Nyx's Pyro in game is 9.8 AU. This will probably shrink as well then. It'll probably not stay at 11 AU. I don't know how big it would be, but if we compared it to Pyro being going from 13 AU down to 9.8, then maybe this one would go down to like 7 or 8 AU. And then that's compared to Stanton, which is 5 AU. So still bigger than Stanton, probably smaller than Pyro, but still plenty of space to kind of get lost and figure out what's going on within the gigantic nebula that covers half the system. And I think that's, a lot of people have theorized that like this is going to be their introduction to long distance scanning. There's a chance Nyx comes by the end of next year, and they haven't really talked about scanning and all that kind of stuff in the context of Pyro. So it would make sense if it started to make a bigger deal when they bring Nyx in. It's kind of like new thing that they try to introduce with it. Holding his own against 6 trolls at some points, that's a fighter. What are you talking about? Yesterday during the podcast, I wasn't, man, people were like saying things in the podcast like I was supposed to be paying attention to chat. I'm like, dude, I am talking to somebody. You guys talk amongst yourself. I'm not going to be able to respond in the middle of a chat with someone else. Sources are very deep in the comlink somewhere. Honestly, these plans probably went out the window when the game fundamentally changed the way systems and planets worked. I think it's sad that it was lost, and I hope that they bring back the possibility. The idea of 50 unexplored star systems sounds strange. Like I could see a few, but they don't. I guess unexplored is different from undiscovered. I would assume that Nyx is mostly unexplored. It's like when we discover an island out in the middle of the ocean and everyone's like, there's no reason to do anything with this island. Nobody's going to go and like walk it foot by foot to try and find things. Everybody's like, oh, it's not useful. Let's not go there. They haven't commented on when Nyx will release. No. Thoughts on NPC crew not being part of 1.0? It's a bummer. That's a big old bummer. But hey, you know what? If that means 1.0 comes out a little sooner? Yeah, I mean, Luke's used to it. He's been doing YouTube stuff for a long time. I'm sure he's... And he covers, man, I mean, like, we're in the Star Citizen bubble. This dude's over here covering games on a scale where you get all kinds of people coming in, man. Like, he jumps into all of the games that are coming out. And if there's one thing I've learned in covering all the games that are covering out lately, it's that I don't ever want to. Because the conversation around games in general is just a pain. And I am absolutely certain we will get that. A year from now, 2 years from now, whenever Squadron 42 starts to get more popular, we will absolutely get what you could call the tourists coming in and acting like Squadron 42 needs to fit some kind of vision or some kind of way, or it's changing in some way, or it's introducing things that it's not about games. And we're like, dude, this has been the way it's been for like 2 years. Like, what are you doing? But we're not there yet, luckily. They could honestly push player space stations back to 1.1 or later if that means getting to 1.0 sooner. I doubt that's something that's going to push 1.0 back, to be honest. Because it's player space stations seem kind of just like bases, just in a different place and with like a slightly different construction model. Unless it's Halo. We will be covering Halo. We also will be covering Mass Effect. We will also probably cover Star Wars Eclipse to an extent. And if there's ever a new Deus Ex, we'll be right there. In fact, I might cover the new Perfect Dark game, because that does look like it's trying to be an immersive sim, and I love a good immersive sim. Oh, God. Viper's Whip, please don't bring that here, dude. Don't bring it here. Oh, my God. Please don't start. Yes, Mass Effect is getting a new game. They've been working on it for a while. I have no idea what's going on with it, but Dragon Age has to come out first. No news about Star Wars Eclipse yet. All right. Let's continue with Nyx.
But despite this, a small community has formed in the system. And this is on an asteroid in the belt between Nyx 2 and Nyx 3. And this asteroid is called Delamar.
Delamar, baby! Remember when it used to look like a freaking planet? Just like a small planet?
And here it is, hidden deep in the Glacium Ring. But actually, Delamar should be, and now is, an actual asteroid.
Hold on. Here's a look at what it used to look like, because it's it's actually surprising. It basically was just a small planet before. It looked like this. Super round. Like this is where we're coming from. Yeah, this was in Stanton. It was out past Crusader. It was kind of like between Crusader and where Microtech is right now. And it was basically just a small planet on its own orbit in the Stanton system. And you could fly around it. Like you could actually, it was so small that you could fly around it, shut your engines off, and your ship would orbit. And you could just get stuck in the orbit of it for a while. It's pretty cool. But it didn't obviously sell the idea that it was an asteroid, considering it was surrounded by a bunch of other random asteroids, which, as you can see here, there were basically none. Like, it's entirely different presentation than what they're actually doing with it now. In fact, it looks a lot more like... Did I just crash Google Chrome or something? Come on now. Come on, then. You can go all the way back to the initial introduction of Delamar. And it looks more like it used to. Let's see, Star Citizen Nyx introduction. See if that brings it up. Yeah, so it looks more like what they concepted it to look like all the way back in the day. I think this will get me dude, what is wrong with my freaking browser? What, are we watching my live stream right now? I hate you, Google Chrome. Oh my God. Here we go. Okay. So like you can see when they initially showed it off, it looked more like what they have it looking like now, which is an asteroid floating around a bunch of other asteroids. You get the sense that it's 0G, that you are just flying through an asteroid rather than around a planet. And way more cinematic look, but you know, this was just like a video, and what we had was in the game itself. Same idea though. You see the borehole in the middle, cranes all around it. The scale is a lot different. Look at the scale of this. Like, this hole is tiny in comparison to what they're doing now. Brave. You're so brave. Oh, I love Dream State Logic. Also, what's the name of them? Carbon-based life forms is another good one, if you haven't heard them. But yeah, Celadrone, Deep Space Logic, Dream State Logic, and carbon-based life forms are all pretty nice. Look at how small the freaking borehole is. We're about to see it huge in this other video, and it's just entirely different now.
And as it's an asteroid, the space is a zero-G location, giving a unique identity for a landing zone. So let's take a closer look at the main POI on Delamar.
I actually didn't realize how small it used to be compared to what they're showing us here. He's that same approach, but in the engine now. Holy crap, the game looks so much better. Dude, this game looks... And I mean, it's like a 10 years difference, I guess. So obviously it's going to look quite a bit different, but it's basically the same shot right here. You're coming over the ridge. The hole is down there. You got towers on the sides compared to this. Also, you got Pedro coming in here. Like, what the heck? But there's no features. How funny would it be if you could just tow asteroids into this area? Just like, watch out for your landing hazards. How many SRVs would that take? They did say the SRV could tow mineable asteroids at some point. We'll see if that sticks.
All right.
A wild morph.
Awesome. Awesome. So, for all that remember, it's awesome to be able to say, welcome back to Levski.
Aww.
And for new players, let me tell you why it's a cool place. This used to be an old mining facility.
X-Ray, you might have gotten hit by Stream Santa. Mr. Zayef drops
There is
some
an eternal
subs
network
every once in a while
of
around
abandoned
here.
tunnels and mine shafts. And these are now populated with refugees, fugitives, and criminals.
I'm going to love all of the comparison videos we get of how this used to look versus how it looks when it comes into the game now, because the amount of improvements we've seen this game get hit with in terms of like mostly graphics and stuff, but also the sound design and like the interactivity of the world around us and stuff, the signage and everything. I think this is going to be a really nice facelift to a location we haven't seen in like 4 years now.
This is also the home to the People's Alliance, who you'll be doing some work for.
For anybody who doesn't know who the People's Alliance is, this kid right here, I don't remember what his name is, but the People's Alliance formed in Nix. They called them political activists and stuff. I don't remember what exactly they said. Basically, this system was a place where people were like, hey, the messers, you guys suck. We're going to do our own thing. Because back when the messers were in charge, they had factories. Anthony Tanaka, thank you. They had factories where children would have to work. Which, you know, children are children. That's just never going to go very well, right? And it didn't. They had children working, and one day one of the kids was like, hey, bruh, this sucks. Like, my feet are cut up. My face is all sooty and ashy. I haven't eaten in days, and y'all aren't paying me. So he's like, I'm not going to work. And the messers, being the messers, have armed guards making sure they work. Walked over to the kid, shot him in the head. Just like, okay, then you can just die. And so this is a statue that's up in the middle of Levski of one of the workers holding the kid like, dog, this sucks. This is stupid. And that's kind of the spirit of how Nix formed and the People's Alliance. They just did not want to be associated with that. And that's always been the spirit of this system. So this system isn't UEE aligned because the UEE is just the continuation of the Messer regime. Like, it's obviously not the same. It's not authoritarian quite as much, but they do call themselves United Earth Empire. Like, guys, can you be a little more friendly with your naming? So they generally stay away, and they want others to stay away.
Wow.
And that's why the Nix system is like Pyro but safer. So we'll see what kind of like interesting parts of the story and what missions and factions and stuff we can encounter because of that.
And as Levski was made some time back, it needed to be updated.
Grateful brat.
So that it can fit into current gameplay features and systems and mission loops. So let's take a look at the first update, and that is to the hangars and landing services.
This is pretty sick. The hangars all used to be on top of the surface where the actual landing zone is. Now they've got them like down in the borehole, which is cool. And we didn't even have docking courts back when we used to have Levski, so. And then this is just their unnecessary tease of the show. There's always got to be one, though, right?
Release the Kraken!
How safe are those whole series
All right,
docking
cool.
ports? Depends on how good
So
security is, I
Levski
guess.
Still perched over the borehole, but now has a suite of hangars that are arrayed around and inside the borehole. We're also increasing the quantity of hangars. This is to meet the ever-expanding players per server to remove hangar wait times. And this pass will be done for all landing zones in the game right now. And for players that don't want to store their ship, docking services will be added high up on the cliff walls. Now, other than hangars and docking services, there are other ways to enter the location, which are also getting new updates.
See right here, this is where everybody had to land before. There were 4 hangars, and that's it. And you would land in, your ship would despawn, somebody else would land in, their ship would despawn. And it was all right up here where all the buildings are.
Let's take a look.
But they've got like catwalks and stuff out here too now, which is cool. Looks like the exterior is a little bit expanded. And then this whole thing is new. You walk over to the edge of the landing zone and you could just kind of fly off. Everything had gravity before. This wasn't a zero-G space back when we used to have it in the game. It was like a low gravity planet. It was like a moon, basically. So you could jump and you could run and all that kind of stuff, but there was no such thing as EVAing right over the surface like this, which I think is going to be a sort of a first for the game. And I wonder what kind of cool things they could do. I wonder if you can like set up your own boxes in zero-G out around this area and make yourself like, because we're going to have push and pull, right? Just like in Squadron 42 where you can push off of different surfaces. You could like set up a bunch of boxes and stuff out here and make a little sport of it. Everybody has to come out and do like some hand races, no EVA allowed. Whoever gets through first wins a ship. I don't know. Cool things, cool potential with the different kind of landing zone like this. Landing pads, but I don't see any freight elevators. Maybe they just haven't put them in there yet. Here's one. Here's some freight elevators. Okay, so maybe they have some without and some with. As far as what we do here, I think mainly the big things will be hauling, refining, shipping kind of stuff. Like it's going to, for a lot of people, this kind of a landing zone won't really matter. You got to think about what makes the gameplay in this game. You got mining, bounty hunting, refining whenever it does happen, base building at some point, crafting at some point, dog fighting, cargo hauling, courier missions, passenger transport. Basically, none of those things you need a landing zone to do. I think for the most part, these are just central locations for people to stop off, drop things off, stuff like that. The main focus here is that it is a central location in a system where all of those other pieces of gameplay take place. And this is your sort of stop off point you can go to. But yeah, I'm going to get to that. This is going to be a really valuable place when it comes to cargo hauling.
So around the main entrance, there's still gravity plating for on-foot access. And these will lead to open landing pads for quick drop-off and pickup. And we're also adding access to gameplay areas for a variety of local missions and gameplay types.
Also, there's that. So there's probably like engineering and maintenance missions down underneath the ground, or like they might do something where like what they're doing in ArcCorp with the municipal groundworks kind of stuff. Yeah, in 10 years. We'll probably get this star system in 10 years.
And as you saw in the video,
that's a joke.
There will be banks of exterior freight elevators. These can be used for quicker gameplay loops without requiring hangar services. Now, as this is a zero-G location, it also gives an opportunity for another type of specialist freight services. Let's take a look.
Don't joke about that. 10 years after the first time we got Nix. Oh, I know it's not a joke for you. You just don't know what you're talking about. I'm joking about it. But yeah, there will probably be some security concerns. Faction will probably take care of a lot of the security, but like if you're hauling out here, you're gonna want to have a little bit of security, I think. This is the real value of Levski. Funk. The ability to haul with a ship of this size to a landing zone is freaking crazy. That's so much money. Like, if this place consumes as much as a landing zone would, but you can haul with a ship as big as the Hull C, Hull D, Hull E, like whatever might be super big and not be able to land in atmosphere, that's good bank. That's a good reason to go to Nyx over other systems, and a good reason for pirates to follow. Listen, saying that Nyx is going to come out in 10 years is like going in 2019 and saying that Microtech is coming out in 10 years. It's not like some crazy thing that they're doing, adding a star system that has 3 empty planets and a landing zone that's already been in the game before. Like, you could say that about Terra. I think that's reasonable kind of joke to make. 10 years Terra. But this is Nyx. It's not like an incredibly difficult thing to do. I mean, even Castra is far away. Nyx is like, we've literally played here before. Granted, they're changing it a little bit, but come on. I hope it's got demand. I hope. Who knows? Like, there's what, 6 jump points coming out of Nyx? It could be like a way station kind of system.
So first off, now the borehole goes all the way through the asteroid, which is awesome to fly through.
That is pretty cool.
And down at the base of the asteroid,
that's what they've been doing all this time, just digging through.
Exterior 0G freight elevators. These will be priority access for Hull series ships. So for all the Hull series folks, we got you covered.
Does that mean, like, if I'm in a freelancer, they're going to kick me out?
Is also coming to space stations in both Stanton and Pyro.
That's something. That's something people were really worried about, is like they mentioned exterior cargo bays in Pyro, and people were like, are you really not going to do that at Stanton? So this is their confirmation that they'll be doing it everywhere, I guess.
But wait, there's a little bit more. Let's take a look.
I miss this music. I really do. You don't really realize how much you like the music till it's gone, you know? I don't know if this really shows cargo decks being much better than they are in Stanton, though, you know? Like, you got the store, you got the kiosk. I guess this kiosk here is usually in the trade facility, right? So they're moving the trade terminal into the cargo deck, because I guess technically other landing zones don't have a cargo deck. So it's kind of like a, what's it called? It's like a mesh of a space station and a landing zone. Which is cool.
All right, cool. So, the external...
No, the interior was not like that before.
Direct access to cargo decks to be able to quickly sell or pick up for the next run.
Okay. So yeah, this is like a cargo hauler's dream,
So
this
that
place.
includes some of the exterior updates coming to Levski. But the interior is also getting some updates to bring them in line with current gameplay requirements. These will be spaces like cargo services, as we just saw, for hauling and supplies, and refinement centers, so you don't need to travel far to refine your ore. And we're updating the interior layout to provide better access to gameplay spaces. So to conclude,
Honestly, I wish I
next
had
system
more.
will be the next system after Pyro.
Dude, what is wrong with my computer?
Yay! Delamar is now a physical asteroid with a zero-G play space. All right, not so much. And we're updating Nevsky to fit current gameplay mechanics and gameplay loops. And most importantly, we're adding local areas for gameplay content.
That's okay. I missed that for some reason when they first went over that. That is pretty important. Local gameplay at Levski could be a solid addition. I'm really bummed that I didn't actually. I wasn't in the mindset of taking a lot of videos back then when we had Levski before. So really, all I seem to have. Let's see. YouTube footage. No. Yeah, I don't think I really have any postable clips. No. Footage dumps. Cuts. Planetary bodies. Daymar. No. Yeah, I don't really have any footage from back then. I think the only footage I have from that time was cinematic I made with some of the footage from there. Okay, cool. And it doesn't even pop up when you search for it on YouTube. There it is. But like this is footage from all over the place. So there's like a couple shots here of Levski. Like this is all Levski here. No, that's a prison. 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 Daymar. Daymar, Stanton. Here we go. So this is Levski a little bit here. Just gives you a little bit of idea of what it looked like. It's like very, very derelict. Not super upkept. Hey, Warlock. Just a dirty place, you know? Some people like that. Man, I think it goes to Grimhex. A little bit of Levski here, too. Yeah, I don't really have that much footage of it, but it was an interesting place before. Eerie. All right, so I did say we weren't really going to touch on Stanton, but we might as well talk a little bit about what they're doing with Stanton because I think this is an important expansion. So let's get into it.
Now, speaking of gameplay in landing zones, let's leave Levski for now. And let's jump to Rainy Arcop.
That guy calls it rainy.
Which is missing the most gameplay spaces.
This is where they should have shown us the weather, to be honest. The weather demo they did, they should have shown it to us on Arcorp. That would have been so sick.
Right now. So we're continuing the Building Interior Initiative. We're adding additional districts to landing zones, which are gameplay focused. These gameplay areas will interweave with the landing zone, but ultimately will be independent. So for Area 18, let me introduce you to the Municipal Works.
Municipal.
And this will be split into 2 locations. The actual municipal works, which will be an open world sandbox area for all players, and the lower municipal works, known locally as the depths, which will comprise of several instanced levels. So, how do I get to the municipal works? The municipal works is accessible in multiple places in Area 18. Some will be available to everyone, and some you'll need to unlock with mission progression. As an example, here's a map of Area 18 Central. And as I said, there'll be various access points throughout the landing zone, and some will be easier to access than others. These access points will lead to transit systems, taking you deep into the underbelly, eventually reaching the municipal works. And the municipal works will have spaces like maintenance, filtration, and the sewer network, which is what we're seeing here. It's a very exotic place. So down here, it's an open world sandbox for you and other players, very similar to contested zones in pyro stations. It's an area to do local missions, like exploration, repair, or even pest control. But the main purpose is provide access to the depths. And these will be instanced areas.
Okay, so municipal works are part of the city, right? They're still part of the sandbox area in the city. I am wondering how they're going to do it. And I think we've kind of operated on the idea that armistice zones would go away and they'd be replaced by security. Security systems would be what handles the idea of whether you can have guns or not. Once you walk through a city, if you don't put your gun away, if you don't store it, whatever, you get security on you immediately. You get taken out of that area. Ways to get around that, obviously, having higher reputation, being a criminal, and not even giving a fuck, and all that kind of stuff. But that aside, I don't know how that would expand into the municipal works, but municipal works are, as they're being described here, a separate sandbox area built off the city, right? And then you have the depths, which builds off the municipal works. The depths being instanced. So you have a sandbox area, that's the Undercity, that is open to all. Exploration, other kinds of gameplay, I'd assume. And then you also have a lower area that's instanced. And I think to understand really the overall scope of this, we got to go back to the way they described building interiors before. Because they said a lot for building interiors.
This week.
So building interiors is something we've always wanted to do, you know, because of, you know, we've had cities in the game for a while. We have many cities, we have many buildings. Therefore, we could have many interiors. It's a perfect opportunity to put in a lot of play space. Now, with the players flying around these buildings, they've been largely urban landscapes, fairly uninteractable. You know, we've done a few landing pads to get the players in and out there, but really the real good stuff was on the inside. So up until now, we've been on the outside wondering about the inside, and today we're going to talk about the inside, looking outside.
Ian.
All right, so we're building interiors. The way in which we approach the concept development, now this was just
Let's skip forward to where they describe them.
interiors. How could we start to break that down? So right off the bat on the top, it's the rooftop spaces. So these would be the primary access points for the player.
We kind of have these
Then
already.
just below that, the maintenance spaces, these could be industrial or technical.
These would be like mission spaces, I would assume, where you could go and do like engineering and repair kind of stuff.
Also, we can have residential. So residential could be entire building blocks, or it could be a proportion.
this would be obviously be habs and apartments that we could get, which I think would be an amazing opportunity for monetization for them.
Then after that, we've got commercial. So these could be shopping, it could be offices, it could be social.
More like mission places.
Obviously, we've got lobbies. Now, these also could be access points for the player. For example,
I feel like the lobbies are kind of what we already have in cities. They're sort of like the bottom areas around the buildings and the places you can go kind of on the streets.
if you're inside Area 18, the player can get access to it there. And then lastly, we've got the underground. Now, these could be interesting as a connector space between buildings. So maybe you've gone in through one building, you go down, and it could bring you through to another part of a building. Let's start with rooftops.
So then there's the sewers, right? Let's start with that because this is what we are getting. This is basically where, at least right now, their messaging, they are heading in the direction of. And I feel like this was sort of an overall idea that they had. And they wanted to do this to flesh out buildings and flesh out cities. But the idea of doing this along with base building and space stations and everything else that they want to do, it does seem to me like, at least for the time being, they're like, okay, let's break this down into bite-sized chunks that we can like actually tackle for the game in the foreseeable future. And they've decided that at the undercity parts, the sewers, not only are these probably the most changeable, like these would be fitting the most for different types of gameplay, but they're probably also the easiest to instance like they want to do in different areas.
Focusing on the positive axis of the building, we're going to look at the underground. Now, what this does, it means we can access a whole area of play space that doesn't need to be contained inside the building. So within a lobby, we want the player to start to traverse down into these spaces, and these could be underground transit networks. They could be abandoned underground transit networks. This then could drive potential racing opportunities. So when we was doing this, we thought, oh, it'd be really cool. Like, what would it look like if there's an underground street race going on there?
It does not entirely sound like that's going to happen, but I don't know.
Like I said before, if the player wanted to go into one building, down, and then through, and then up into another building, what would that traversal network?
So we're seeing that, right? That's what these access points are. So we're kind of getting that idea from this video.
Be like, especially if we're thinking about if it's an older part of the underground of a city, maybe it's less used, people have built up. That would instantly inspire a whole bunch of traversal and investigation missions there. Or maybe there's an old aqueduct or an old infrastructure underground. This could be perfect for underground street racing or other racing opportunities. So in a nutshell, what we looked at is...
Okay. But we could go back and we could look at, like, say, the residential section, which I think is really freaking cool.
A variety of combinations. So whether it's living spaces or habitation spaces or social spaces. And also here we want the place to eventually be able to populate the player-owned habitation. So you see here like a first indication of how, the sort of dressing styles that you'd be able to do. Outside of something that's fairly utilitarian, we also want to do something that could be fairly high-end. So here we're just exploring some ideas about what a space could feel like on a different architectural style, and more generous windows, interior spaces dedicated to more than just habitation. And these would be focused on other landing zones. So imagine you come across these in Area 18, or it could be when we come to Terra. And also, like I said, it could be informing future player-owned habitation architectural sets. Now, outside of the living quarters, there's also the social spaces just outside. And we want these to be more...
I'm thinking like a freaking cyberpunk murder mystery Deus Ex kind of mission would be sick in these kind of spaces. But again, I feel like with building interiors, they are kind of moving away from this for the time being to focus more on the sewer section. So there's also the commercial stuff they talked about.
There could be manufacturing, there could be office spaces. And what we try to think about with these, it's more than just a flat room. There should be advanced traversal, it should be multi-tiered.
Then there's like the maintenance stuff, which I think would have been a great spot for like maintenance, obviously, engineering kind of stuff, power management, resource management.
Technical spaces. So these would be more for technicians. It could deal with the data or the communications. And what we're looking at here is potential some, gameplay puzzles where the player has to work their way inside the main operation booth.
And all of this, I think, kind of is included in the Crusader missions, like where we're getting sewers in Arcourt. Maybe we could get actual buildings in Crusader, since those kind of already exist with the Siege of Ors and stuff and the different missions they do there. But ultimately, it feels like they are taking this initiative and sort of breaking it out to do more bite-sized chunks that are more achievable for this game, rather than just like an entire, hey, we're going to build out every building in all the cities and allow you to go into each one, which would have been amazing. I was hoping we'd, maybe not every building, but a lot of the buildings get some form of interior space that they could make use of for missions and different things. But it seems this is the way they're going. And I do think it's like, I appreciate that they will come to the conclusion that they need to scale something back from the concept that they put out. If that means that the game itself is actually going to be able to be made better and faster. What this actually includes, though, let's continue.
Exotic place. So down here, it's an open world sandbox for you and other players, very similar to contested zones in pyro stations. It's an area to do local...
I didn't say that they said that it was changed. I'm saying they didn't talk about it here, so it's probably not happening at the same time that this is, which I don't think they need to explicitly come out and say that. I think it's very easy to it's very easy to conclude that because they're talking about the sewers and not the lobbies and the other stuff, that they're doing this first and then they might get to that at some other point.
Missions like exploration, repair, or even pest control. But the main purpose is provide access to the depths. And these will be instanced areas. So, what is an instance area? Well, an instance area works in the same way as an instanced hangar. And as the name says, it's a separate space for you and your group. But why do we want to do this? This gives us the ability to create tailored missions that will provide a mixture of content like combat or exploration or puzzle gameplay, and fundamentally allows us to design challenging, meaningful content.
So yeah, this is about them basically breaking out chunks of gameplay, which is probably easier to deliver in terms of missions, in terms of curating the gameplay specifically to what they want it to deliver to players. And it kind of builds out these dungeon areas that allow them to like give rewards to people for specific types of gameplay that can't be interrupted by other people. The thing is, like, that is kind of getting away from the whole idea of an open game. It's not instancing every part of the game, but it does start to introduce the idea that like different areas can be basically locked off from open gameplay. And they mentioned later that they want to do that with fleet battles too. Not really sure what that means, but instancing pieces of like space. I don't know if that means that anybody can join it, but when they do, they're put into a separate environment than what the PU is currently running at. If that means that only people who maybe select that specific mission can join it, or if they find that specific quantum beacon, they join it, or what exactly that means. But this is basically them trying to like make bite-sized pieces of game that are more controlled than the rest of the verse.
All right, so let me illustrate, going over here, how the depths will be split by levels. Now, stay with...
It doesn't mean that it will be locked off to players? What exactly is an instance? Like, if it's an instance, what makes it an instance? Is it not different from the space that you're coming from?
With me on this. We're going to rattle through it quick. So let's say you're in level B01. You're running a mission, you're having a great time.
What's up,
with
Echo?
the curated content I just mentioned. But down here, you'll have to do a variety of content over a period of time and over multiple play sessions. At the end of the mission, you'll find an access point, which will bring you back to the landing zone. And you'll do this loop multiple times with different mission content. After achieving the required amount of progression, your access level will be upgraded. So this time, you head down the access point elevator, and now it takes you all the way down to level B02, and you continue on with your journey. Now this is your new area with different mission content, new rewards, and a new access point back to the LZ. The same as B01, you'll do this loop multiple times. And you guessed it, eventually you'll get access to level B03, and we continue deeper. With each level you unlock, you access new areas for new mission loops. You'll access new, more challenging curated content and access better and better rewards. And this is what will form progression-based content.
So you guys are saying, is there like is there a point here where they say that anybody can join into any instance? Is that the idea? I'm trying to understand. They're instances, but they're open to anybody to get in. So like, it's not like instance hangars where once you're in your hangar, people can't join in. You guys are saying these are instances where anybody would be able to hop in if they want to. Not saying that they say that, but it's possible. Okay, so they're not specifying whether or not these are able to be joined by anybody. Also, Panic, thank you for the sub, mate. Appreciate you. They said it's exactly like it is in the hangars. You could say that your instance, if out of bounds to mine, but they will work it in a way that the depths are vast and people will not get to accidentally access someone else's instance. So that would mean that they're separating the instances. For you and your party, he says that in the presentation. Okay.
So as I just described, was a very condensed version of an actual play sessions, but this still describes the unique gameplay experience. Landing zone areas which will offer long-term gameplay progression. So that concludes this section on gameplay.
Okay, maybe he says it beforehand.
So that concludes to create what is an instance area. Well, an instance area works in the same way as an instanced hangar. And as the name says, it's a separate space for you and your group. But why do we want to do this?
Okay, so it is separated from the rest of the game. That's what he's saying. It is separate for you and your group.
This gives us the ability to create tailored missions that will provide a mixture of content like combat or exploration or puzzle gameplay, and fundamentally allows us to...
So it does break away a little bit from the idea that this is that you can just go into a space and find other people in there. This is a tailor-made area where you and your group will go into a part of the game that other people can't access, and you guys can play the game in this sort of you're safe kind of thing. And it does... I don't know how far they would take something like that, considering, you know, people want more and more areas in the game that don't want to have the risk of somebody coming in and messing it up, or, you know, tweaking the situation that you're in. It's good to be able to get missions that are uninterrupted. I prefer them to be cut off through in-game mechanics rather than through artificial walls that are put up. Like, I get that for the hangars, but when it comes to areas like this, not too sure about that. But we'll have to see just how far this kind of stuff goes. If they continue to make more instances like this, if they are actually doing it in terms of fleet battles, or what. Either way, that's the update for building interiors.
So that concludes this section on gameplay spaces for Landing Zone. We're excited to show you more. All right. So we're going to head away from Arcot for now. Let's look again into the stars. And now we're going to talk about solar systems.
Just to be clear, I'm not angry about that. I'm more interested in knowing where else they decide to use that. Because one of the big things that I feel has been a little bit tipsy in terms of like whether they're going to do it or not is armistice zones. And armistice zones currently act as an artificial way to get people not to use their guns in cities. We've always been under the impression that they would use game mechanics to do that in the sense of security, in the sense of customs and things like that. But if they're able to, or if they're willing to do instances when it comes to missions to kind of keep those things separate, I then wonder, are they going to do that with cities? Are they going to go back and like not allow people to have weapons in cities and other places that are green zones? I don't know. How long are we going to rewatch CitizenCon? Until we're done watching it. I personally will probably be watching this CitizenCon for the next year until the next CitizenCon, because that's what I do every year. I continue to go back and find more news. That's how I provide updates to people. Yeah, like Citizen Scott said, but we haven't gotten through all of CitizenCon yet, so until it's done.
Systems. All right.
Oh, that's where the Aaron Halo belt comes from.
Primary system in the game. It serves as a lawful system. It's protected by the UEE and will continue to be evolved and updated as we balance it with other systems. Then we have Pyro system, which we've spoken about at length, and this will serve as the primary unlawful system.
Dude, look at that 400 years difference between these discoveries.
To Stanton. Then, as we just saw, we have Nick's system. It's not a totally unsafe system like Pyro, but it depends on where you go, as it borders Vandal space. See that little bit of red? That's Vandal space right there. And the UEE does not protect this system. But
that's too bad.
We've got a little bit of space there, haven't we?
We don't like the UEE.
All right. I thought he was saying click system then. I'm like, well, I'm not sure about that one. All right. But we've got a bit of room at the bottom, so it would be a shame not to fill it in with something, right? So if we get a big cheer, we'll reveal the system. You ready?
And then they didn't reveal the system.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Here it is. Oh, wait.
Redacted. It's Squadron 42 system.
All right. Okay.
Look at all those disappointed faces, man. You're going to start throwing bananas at them.
Take a sneak peek.
Not tomatoes. You can't do that.
Number 4. Here it is. Well, it's awesome, right?
This guy.
All right. No, in order to reveal the fourth system, let me take you on a little history lesson. And to do that, we're going to load up our old friend, the Galactipedia. So, we're back in the height of the human-Xi'an Cold War. Tensions were at breaking point. In 2542, Armistead Perry introduced a designation line for a group of 8 planetary systems that marked the borderlands between Xi'an and human-controlled space. The United Planets of Earth designated the systems as no-fly zones and utilizing them as military staging grounds. But one system on the Perry line offered a key strategic position for a potential invasion into the Xi'an Empire. And that system was Castra.
Yay! Like, we're just like, well, we don't know what that is, but yay, new star system.
But luckily for us, war was averted, the Pereline Pact was signed, which was a peace treaty between the now UEE and the Xi'an Empire, so the Cold War ended. The systems of the Pereline were divided up between humans and Xi'an, and fast forward back to present day, humans and the Xi'an enjoy a more prosperous relations, and everyone's cool. So, the fourth system will be Castra.
Oh, so that's the... No, never mind. That's discovered after Pyro. So Pyro is the oldest system we'll have in 1.0 then. Pretty sure Terra was found after that.
History lesson's over, so let's jump in and find out a little bit more.
Wow.
First we have Castra 1. Here it is. Castra 1 is a dead, coreless planet because it's too close to the sun to be terraformed for human habitation. So instead, the UEE Navy used Castra 1 for target practice, giving it the nickname of Bullseye. All the weapon testing throughout the Mesa era has left Bullseye covered in craters. And as you can see, it's super toxic, meaning ground exploration will require high-end environment suits. And as you saw in the weather demo, raging storms will create difficulty of access.
There's more of your exploration potential, right?
Seeking unique minables and other items. Okay.
If it like they're specifically pointing out that this is a place where you're going to need specialized ships and armor to probably last for a long time, which means people don't really go there, which means more potential to find things that haven't already been found. Caves, old bunkers or something, I don't know. Craters that have undetonated warheads. Is that a thing in 900 years? I don't know.
Then we have Castra 2. The second planet from the sun is called Cascon.
Cascon.
And this was the location of the military's staging area.
It's got a belt.
Since the system was opened up to non-military settlement, it has since become a center of trade and tourism, but is still considered an Earth-centric traditionalist system, which prizes citizenship above all else.
Gross.
Let's head down to the surface and check it out. Breaking through the clouds, you'll find a landscape full of Great Lakes and lush crimson forests. And as you saw in the CTG presentation,
this is beautiful.
You can see how we're going to make these worlds.
It's just a nice piece of art. Like, it's concept art, but it looks gorgeous.
With the new technology. High up on the mountain range, here at the highest peak, we can just make out the landing zone called Sherman.
If you haven't seen the old concept art for this place, it's not like it's pretty similar, I would say, to what they're showing us. They did a solid job with that. This is what it used to look like. Now, obviously, it looks better now than it did back then. This is like concept art from literally 10 years ago. But you still get the idea. It's like a sort of utilitarian, Henoistic military base. It's above the clouds. It's amongst the mountains. And they've got a few shots of it, I think. Oh, I might not have any more here. There are a couple concept arts of it. Here's the other one. Like a little more telling that there's like overlooking mountains. You can tell like the landing zone is right here. It goes into the mountain. And my monitor just turned off. Love this computer. And then this is an interesting one. This actually makes it look like there's a city down in the valley. I think they've moved away from, obviously, It's more, all of it is up on the side of a mountain, and the valley down below is just like all clouds. But I'm guessing we'll be able to fly down there, so I wonder what it would look like down below the clouds in that valley, which they obviously did not show us during this presentation.
Which is fondly known by its residents as the island in the sky. Sherman is currently in pre-production, but I wanted to take the opportunity to show at least a sneak peek.
A lot of people falling off the edges, a lot of ships that didn't land correctly. All right, I'll let you get the full music and cinematic experience here. Yum, dude. The music is like, it's like, I'm here for the music, dude. You guys can have the game. Seriously, it's beautiful. I love what we're seeing of this landing zone. The music's just so distracting because it's so good. As far as pre-production goes, I'm gonna guess that they like are maybe at white box for this, but generally they go from design brief to concept, concept to white box to gray box to final art, and then, you know, final art to like launch ready, game assets, lighting, sound effects, design, all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming they're at like the concept slash, I mean, they've done concept work on this obviously quite a bit already. We've seen the concept art. So I would assume that they're somewhere around concept to white box if they're not willing to put gray box on that. And I would say most of that is just fluff. They're just showing where it's going to be. I would assume this is still pretty far away. You and Frenchie sitting to the right of the chat box?
Some of the areas are shown.
Wait, where? Where's the chat box? Right here? Where are you guys? Oh, I see a GII hat there. Kind of behind the chat box. I see you. I see you. The garden representing out there in the live audience. Nice. Is that Dregor right there? Oh, so you guys had like this whole row here, huh? Solid. You're in front of him right here. Frenchie's in front of you. Is that Frenchie right there? Is there you? I can't tell that well. My eyes aren't what they used to be. Had the whole front 3 rows there.
Awesome. Let me take you through some of the areas of Sherman you just saw. The dominant landmark you see in the center is Spaceport Ulysses, named after the mountain Sherman is sitting on. This is where they staged the bombers that were on active rotation, waiting on any sign of any aggression.
Shouldn't they have like been in
But now
space?
it's mostly a commercial spaceport. The Navy still has an airbase here.
I think one of the coolest parts of this is kind of like with Nyx. You can see that, at least it looks like, this whole thing goes all the way through the mountain, which is a little bit crazy. Pretty cool though. I hope that is the case.
Waiting on any sign of any aggression. But now it's mostly a commercial spaceport. The Navy still has an airbase here, but it's a great place to see some big ships of the UEE. Commercial hangars are located inside the main trench. And even though
That's
this
pretty
is
cool.
a converted from a naval base, it still has an impressive military flavor.
It's so cool because we're getting different parts of a sci-fi universe, from the dystopian corporate controlled star system to like the dangerous frontier sort of edge of space kind of experience, the outer ring, whatever you want to call it, to the like super hardcore military area that's like just a military base on the top of a mountain. What the heck? To like the sprawling utopian Terra. Like we're getting a solid representation of what sci-fi can be, which is cool.
And speaking of military flavor, the original AOV-9's anti-orbital cannons are still present around the defensive walls,
Do they work though?
with most of them being decommissioned
Aw.
once it became a civilian city.
He said most of them. Like maybe this is truly high security. Like you just, if you come in there and you're in trouble, you're gonna get hit with the suborbital cannon.
Over to the left of the spaceport is the Sparrows Industrial Park,
Earth is in the solar
home to
system.
the sprawling cargo yards and manufacturing plants. The Sparrows has evolved from its days as a military supply and munitions depot into a bustling and modern industrial park. To the right side of the spaceport is Fort Riggs.
So like these buildings, they're pretty spot on. Let me pull back up that concept art from way before. From this to that, not bad. Not bad at all. I think they were able to capture the concept art pretty well and translate it into the game.
Which originally used to house the army when Sherman was used as a staging point for a potential ground assault of the Xi'an Empire.
Hallelujah Mountains.
Since the area was decommissioned, it has now been turned into a business park.
Yeah, they're both
And
concept
it's the
art.
governmental center of CASCOM.
So I guess not in game, but rather just over time, they've kept them pretty consistent. Natamson, thank you for the prime sub. Appreciate you. Yeah, this is concept art.
With the Governor's Council headquarters located here. As this base was built during the Mesa era, as humans were expanding their borders, this introduces a new architectural style for humans. Between the First Travarian War on one front and the Xi'an Cold War on the other, a new style called Henoism arose. With an emphasis on prefabrication and fortification, the designs were robust, durable against warfare and harsh enemies and harsh environments. And from all the locations we just...
Who landed their terrapin without the landing gear down? Who did this? Come on, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. Henoism, yep. And we'll show you where that comes from. Hey, Mihai, thank you for the subs, mate. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support. If you are looking for a chance to get into the game for free, there should be a free flight coming up next week. I believe you can type in !join or !join tomato to make an account. You'll get a referral bonus to one of our supporters. You will also get your own referral bonus. Anybody who supports us at the Onion tier on Patreon or YouTube, you guys actually get your referral code into our referral randomizer. So whenever there's like these sort of promotions going on, a lot of times people get the promotion through that because we've done our referrals. Just passing them on now. I think Fasten actually just got a referral bonus today. We'll probably be doing a giveaway when we get back to the States. We're going to do a subathon sometime in the next couple of weeks. No, did I say next week? I meant next month. My bad. Sorry. Yeah, we're going to do a streamathon to celebrate getting back up to the US. Is that only for YouTube? Only YouTube and Patreon. Yeah. We don't really have that tier sub on Twitch, and it's a little hard to get in touch with people with Twitch because Twitch doesn't have a messaging service for support and stuff. So, yeah. If you are that level though, so it's $15 and up on those channels, on those platforms. If you are that level on Twitch, get in touch with Mrs. Tomato, let her know, and we could probably get your referral in there. But I have to double check with her. Management, you know. Yeah, the Terrapin's just chilling here, like, hey guys, hey. I think the Gladius is like that too over here. So he's gonna mention here Henoism, and that actually sticks. I'm really proud of them for sticking with it, man. Obviously, that's like they have a thing to go about, a guide, but they released this like 5 years ago, and it goes through the architectural styles of the game. So you've got utilitarian, colonialism, streamline, metaclassicism, Henoism, high-tech, and supermodernism. In the Stanton system, we've got utilitarian and high-tech. High-tech where you find Orison, Rayari. In fact, this picture is from a Rayari lab. You've got Microtech, those kinds of things. The hangars that you see at Microtech are high-tech hangars. You also have utilitarian, which is like ArcCorp, Hurston, and their hangars and the space stations we have everywhere. Those are utilitarian style, mechanical, industrial, functional, aesthetic, or function over aesthetic, durable design. You've got colonialism, which is being introduced with Pyro. Those are the outposts that we've been seeing over time in the Pyro system, and the sort of way they've been building those outposts with like the stucco, with the natural what do you call it, with the sort of natural resources of the land. And those can be seen in a lot of the clips that they've been showing us of the areas in Pyro. So like these sort of rock buildings. This is all colonialism style. You also have the kind of derelict style that we've been seeing in different areas too. This is also part of colonialism styling. So they're building out these different archetypes, and the idea is going to be that as they build them out, they build out libraries, asset libraries, bigger and bigger, and eventually any system that uses one of these architectural styles, they can just, change the design a little bit of it to make it fit that system a little bit more. So we'll probably see some colonialism style outposts in Nyx. We'll probably see a little bit of utilitarian in Terra, as well as high tech. I don't know about supermodernism. This is the GOS system is what they have in the background here. And they describe supermodernism as sleek, aesthetic over function, rounded edges. Don't know where that's really going to be. But then we also have high tech, which is industrial design focused, but advanced manufacturing and beautiful functionality, which is what we see in a lot of our outposts. What we're getting with Castra is the introduction of Henoism. It conveys security. It has a bunker-ish defensive style, austere, kind of brutalist. Besides that, we're still missing Streamline, which actually I think Streamline is pretty heavily influenced in Terra because it was Streamline is kind of like, we got to make a lot of stuff fast. We got to really expand quickly. So they call that retro, rounded edges, inspired by Streamline modern design. Then Metaclassicism is, this looks like straight up Warhammer 40K kind of stuff. Symmetrical, geometric, massive, ornamental. So also kind of brutal in nature, but focused on scale and on like showing power. And I'm guessing this was occurring during the Messer era. Look at that. So Messer era was very Metaclassicism and Henoism. Colonialism was real early on when we were still trying to get out into space and explore. Utilitarianism obviously was like our old style. High tech and supermodernism are closer towards the end of time and at least the present and what we are working on at that point. So these are the different architectural styles, and with Sherman, we're getting Henoism.
So high up on the upper wall, you can see the commercial district, and specifically the Ansel shopping complex. Situated high above the sprawling main base below, the Ansel area originally served as the command center to Sherman's military operations. Inside this building, you'll find key areas like the Edge of Oblivion Bar, which was converted from the old officers' lounge. You'll also find Eckhart Security Headquarters, and you'll find the Mercenary Guild Headquarters.
So that's interesting. Miles Eckhart, his security group is in Castra.
The other areas in the commercial district include the
It does give you, it's very, these look great, man. I love the way they look. And I think he mentioned Henoism
durable
back here,
against
right?
warfare and fortification, with an emphasis on pre-fragile war on one front and the Xi'an Cold War on the other. A new style called Henoism arose.
There we go, yeah. So he mentions it back here, but that's the idea, and I think there is a specific goal in introducing the different architectures throughout these different systems so they can start to build them all out. But that's architecture. Ever considered being a teacher? No. I tutored in math and physics back in school, but not a teacher, not me. Reminds you of the Citadel in Mass Effect. Dude, it's beautiful. I love the way that this looks. Hey, thanks for gifting out a sub. Wow, I can't see any of the notifications on Twitch. Thanks for the bit, by the way.
The areas like the Edge of Oblivion Bar, which was converted from the old officers' lounge.
We'll still be going to Magnus as an org, but we'll have to see where we go in the first 5.
Headquarters. And you'll find the include, and on the right, it's the Imperial Sherman Infirmary. There's also the Reeves Military Museum, where you can experience the
This actually reminds me of the area that you go, I think it's in Andromeda. It reminds me a lot of that open top area. That's one of the main situations in Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda.
Park situated in front of Central Command, which has the best view overlooking the landing zone. So that's a quick overview of some of the key areas of Sherman. I think it's devastatingly beautiful, with a rich history and unique mood and vibe.
All right. So that's all of the systems they talk about there, but I did say I was going to go over the first 5 systems here. So we're briefly going to touch on Terra before we get going. And really that's only talked about in this presentation. Let's see. Very briefly.
We're finally doing it. Consider, yeah. That's 4. Do you guys want to know 5?
People excited about that. Banjalorian, thank you for the sub, mate.
Yeah. We're finally doing it. Considered by many to be the new jewel of the Empire, Terra has been a shining star against the more imperialistic tendencies of Earth, even in the darkest days of the Messer regime. Now, many believe that Terra should be the new center of the UEE.
Yeah.
I don't know how you all feel about that. Yeah, a lot of division. But that's our starting 5. Each system and each...
Dude, I'm great with babies. For anybody who didn't know the context of that, Christopher said his daughter keeps, his 9-month-old keeps touching the screen and cooing. That's like what Dora used to do back in the day. She would just come and sit and listen. Okay, so this is like, if you didn't notice, this is pretty clearly where probably this biome is going to start getting introduced. Like Terra is primed for swamps. Terra's better than that. They wouldn't call it an empire. They'd call it a conglomerate. We're nice at Terra, you know? Yeah, another high security system, true. The difference between white box and gray box, white box is generally not as detailed. All of these assets are being, I think, marked up, added effects and everything for the sake of the CitizenCon, but white box is usually just a very basic version of whatever it is they're trying to put out. Gray box is when you start to add your chamfers and your different lines and your more detailed geometry. All right, so that's swamps, which I think are definitely going to be there. I also think that Terra is primed for jungles. I think I don't know if pre-production includes white box or not, but concept and design briefs usually come before white box, so likely, yeah, pre-production is pre-white box. Maybe include some of the white box stuff. Feels like their pipeline has changed a little bit over time, so it's not a definitive line. Dude, that bug is so loud. Yeah, dude, that must be swampy inside that armor. And then the final piece, I don't think this is nearly as obvious for Terra, so maybe it won't be there, but we have sort of redwood forest, I guess. Great height variety in the trees. That's 2 Star Wars references in just these 3 little demos of biomes. So there's some biomes that are interesting and could end up in Terra. Oh, and before we go to the Arc star map, there's also a
And each
quick
planet
mention
will be-
here of security. Of the first 5 systems, specific security options. There we go.
Game PvE content. But what about PvP? What about player versus player content? As you know, 1.0 will contain 5 star systems, 3 of these being lawful in Stanton, Castra, and Terra, and 2 of them being unlawful in Pyro and Nyx.
So that's pretty key to remember. And of all of these, Terra will probably be the safest. Castra second safest, and Stanton third. And then Nyx, and then Pyro.
So what's the difference? Let's take a look at Stanton. Lawful systems will be a mixture of high, medium, and low security areas. Each of these areas will be monitored by law enforcement agencies. And depending on the location, will dictate the emergency response time, with high-sec areas being the fastest.
So this is what I was talking about earlier with the cities and security being the natural deterrent to danger rather than like breaking pieces off. So we'll see what the balance is when they do that. But the last thing I want to look at is Terra on the Arc star map, which is over here. It connects to Pyro, and it connects to Stanton, which I think is... The heck is Stanton? There it is. And it also connects to Magnus, so maybe like soon, TM, CIG. Terra is the only system in the Empire that is named after the capital planet rather than the star at its center. Since its discovery, Terra has grown consistently in both popularity and influence. Even during the Messer era, Terra was one of the few systems that tried to maintain a progressive stance against the despotic reign. It was this perseverance in the face of adversity that has elevated it to be almost synonymous with Earth as the center of power in the UEE. 12 AU systems, so about the same size as Nyx. 4 planets, I believe. Pretty important location if you look on the map of kind of how Stanton's it's a shopping mall of the UEE. Terra is connected to that. So it's like in a good spot in terms of commerce. But let's jump in and see what else there is then there. Yeah, we are going back to the States for a little while. Not permanently, not for good, but this will be the last one of 2024. Last stream in Turkiye. So here we go. As I said, pretty large system. It's got an asteroid belt around the outside of it, the Marisol belt. It's got its 4 planets, Gen, Terra, Pike, and Arrow. The star is called Terra Nova. Terra is obviously the one that people care about most. It says it's not habitable, which is weird because it definitely is. It has 1 landing zone called Prime. Upon discovery, this naturally occurring oxygen-based planet seemed like an untouched Earth, and so they named it Terra as a reflection for the birthplace of humanity. Over the centuries, Terra has grown into one of the jewels of the Empire, becoming a political and cultural force, home to the transitionalist political movement who believe that Terra better represents the future of the UEE than the current Empire. And we do have some concept art of Terra Prime, or yeah, of Prime on Terra. Around here somewhere. We've got plenty of concept art of it, actually. So I just lost it. Resized the window and it's gone. Dang it. There we go. So a couple different areas. This is like inside the city, in what looks like sort of a council building, sort of the same area. You can see it's just a big sprawling city. Here's sort of an overlook of the city with some landing pads in the foreground. Here's where I say, like, it looks like they go a little bit into that streamline look. This is an area called the Blocks, which is kind of like a dangerous area within the city. So the city itself is pretty beautiful, but it also has its quote-unquote ghetto, where there's, you know, things are a little bit more broken down. You can see there's like broken windows in the buildings, people living on the street, trash and stuff everywhere. So it's not all great. Here's more of that streamlined design that you see from the architectural style, and just kind of just another area in the city.
You rock. You know
Upper
that?
area of the city. Hey Goslaw, thanks for the super chat, man. Saturday's going well. We're just getting ready to head back. Almost time for us. In fact, I get off this stream in about a couple minutes and then decommission the PC and we get out of here. Well, in the morning. Oh, we don't live in Istanbul. I would say Istanbul's got its own vibe compared to California. It depends on where you go, though. Los Angeles is like a small Istanbul, you could say. What else we got here? This is just one of the shipyards where they're building things in Terra. One of the landing zones. Oh, we already looked at this one. And then the most known picture of Terra is this one, which makes it look real nice. Big city. Massive earth land structures going on too. Don't know what that's all about, but you get the vibe. It's like a nice city. Matt Sully, thanks for hanging out, mate. Catch you later. So that's Terra, the city. It looks like it has a moon, a couple of space stations around it. So definitely, you know, plenty of stuff to do around there. And then you've got Gen, which is kind of like a paradise planet. It is also inhabitable. Known locally as Gen, this terraformed super Earth, okay, so it wasn't habitable originally, is situated on the further edge of the green band and is often overlooked when compared to Terra. Technically, Terra 4 is a major political and military hub responsible for overseeing diplomatic missions and military deployments for this and surrounding systems. So this would be a very safe area around this planet. Got a space station. Doesn't look like it's got a moon, though. You've got Pike, which is much smaller. Lack of atmosphere hasn't stopped industrial magnates from descending on the vast mineral resources of this terrestrial planet. Thousands of mining operations are in near constant operation to help fulfill resource requirements for the system. So, heavy industrial planet there on Pike, also with a moon. And then Arrow is a mesoplanet with rich mineral deposits, but too harsh of a climate to make them easily accessible. So, big time opportunities for exploration-focused folks and people who want to make a good buck on discoveries. But essentially, that's the Terra system. It's got a good mix of high security, sprawling planets with landing zones, as well as some more terrestrial planets that aren't as settled and offer some opportunities. But that's it. That's the 5th system. And there are your first 5. It's going to be quite a while before we get all 5 of them. but it is definitely a good selection of 5 systems. They're going to offer some cool opportunities. They're all a little bit different sorts of vibes and atmospheres and choices on how you want to play the game. And obviously these different guilds that we see that they've talked about at CitizenCon will be all around these systems in different ways. I'm very excited to see how they ultimately balance all of this to make an interesting game for people who want to be in danger, want to be safe, want to be exploring, want to be an industrial, want a base build, want a space station build, all that stuff. But that's about it, folks. Sol and Terra. It's going to confuse people. I mean, I don't know. I think it's easy to consider Terra to be different from from Earth. Just remember that they're different words, you know? But yeah, they named the whole system after the planet. Dude, they just love that planet. They're big fanboys. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for checking out this deep dive. Like I said, this will be the last one before we go back to the States. So it's been good. Love this place. Mrs. Tomato made a beautiful studio here, and it's gonna be interesting going back to. I mean, we'll make up. So basically, when we get back to the States, we're gonna be with my parents, and we will be streaming from my sister's childhood bedroom. So we will find ways to make that feel a little like this, studio-ish. You know, still got the tomato vibes. Mrs. Tomato, come in here. Say goodbye. Come on, get in here. We're going to be doing our cooking streams still. We'll be doing those from my parents' kitchen until we can find our own place. Our hope is that we will be able to find an apartment over there at some point and settle in and like do our cooking streams and hang out with you all still.
Dad, I don't want to go.
Yeah, we don't really want to go, but tis
It's
what it
time.
is. Yeah,
Tis time.
For those who have immigrated, you probably know some of the struggles of having to do these kinds of things, but
Maybe not as often as we unfortunately have to do it.
yeah.
I do have my tomato cans.
Nice.
I'll have them in America too.
But yeah, we will, I mean, it'll be easier for us to do a lot of things in a time zone that is more similar to a lot of the people that we hang out with and talk with. Our org, the garden, we'll be able to, you know, be there with you guys more often. We won't get inundated with like dozens of messages in the morning when we wake up. We'll
Less
be able
power
to,
outages too.
yes, less power outages,
We'll have running water all the time.
universal access to Discord,
and internet.
no worries about Twitch getting banned.
No.
So
Just
those are bonuses, but
Taco Bell,
yeah, Taco Bell too, Costco,
Costco,
bacon,
Target, bacon,
Korean barbecue.
burritos.
Yes, lots of things to be happy about.
90% food.
We just would
Wait.
love to stay home. Also,
This one's on me.
ah,
I'll get a Nerf gun in the States too.
yeah, you'll have a lot more choices as well. All right, y'all. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate and love you. Thank you for being here. Oh, also, before we go, we have passed the goal for the first month to be able to join Twitch's Partner Plus thing. So Twitch won't take 50% of every sub. We just have to do it for 2 more months, I think. So thank you, everybody on Twitch who has supported us during October. It's, I think, the
Let's
first...
start a giveaway for that.
We'll start when we get back
When we
to the
get
States.
home,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's the first month we've ever done that. So thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
Try to be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll try to be back live on Wednesday. Depends on how fast I can rebuild this. And we can get our streaming PC set up over there. So we hope to make it happen. And you guys have made it possible. Thanks again, everybody. I'm going to send you over to Paul. He's doing his 24-hour stream for charity. Go over there, drop a couple dollars for the kids. He's supporting the kids.
Couple of toes.
For the
too.
children. Appreciate you all. You're lovely people. Thanks again. Love ya. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
inning ships.